All right, what's up, you dirtbags? Before we get into the official episode, I have a couple minutes here to give you a quick announcement. First of all, we'll take a quick moment of silence for my garbage can that I obliterated with my truck. So we'll give a couple seconds here. Thank you. Yeah, backed up, forgot his garbage day, and absolutely destroyed it. So that is a big bummer. But the main update I want to give you guys is we have Dirtbags University coming up this Monday night. So if you're listening to the episode right now, it's Friday, it's Saturday, it's Sunday. Uh, Monday night, April 14th, Dirtbags University is back. For those that have been to one, you know how it goes. This is a one time only. It's not going to be recorded. It's Monday night, 7:30 p.m. Central Time. I will put the link in the description of this podcast. You can also find it on the Dirtbags podcast Instagram. I have it in the highlight section there. You can also find it if you just type in Dirtbags University on Google. We will pop up. You can go down on our page. You can click the link there. It's $20 to show up. We've been doing this now for a couple years, and it is one of our favorite things to do. We bring in for this one, it's a panel of speakers, some of the best we could get, talking about leadership in construction. So when we sat down, we decided who would be the best speakers to put together for this. We wanted to put together kind of a wide array of leaders that we look up to, but that are also a part of this community. So first one is Matt Studi. He'll be on the panel. He owns Sapphire Construction. He actually has one of our top 10 listen to episodes. So if you haven't listened to that one, go listen to that before Dirtbags University. We also have Alex Parker, owner of Parker Rock and Dirt. He also has a Dirtbags episode with us. Awesome guy, great friend. And then finally, we've got Herb Sargent, the CEO of Sargent. They're a big company. They actually are employee owned, and which is really cool. I'm really excited to see Herb's strategies in leadership because it's a totally different dynamic. So all three of them have put together about a 15 to 20 minute presentation to teach you guys, but then also the last 45 minutes will be for Q&A. So if you guys have a question during it, I'll be working the chat and you can toss the question in, and then we'll actually bring you on the panel so we can unpack your question live in front of everyone else. Usually we have a good 50 to 70 people show up to these things. It is absolutely incredible. I couldn't be more excited to bring it back, and got a loaded panel. Once again, April 14th, Monday night. Sign up. The link is in our description. Don't miss it because you cannot pay for the recording. There is no recording, and you don't want to miss out. So sign up for it. It's going to be awesome. Grab a drink, grab a notepad, grab a pen. Let's have a great time, and let's do something positive for our business. Let's keep pushing forward. So with that, here's the official episode. Let's go. All right, what's up, you dirtbags? We are back in studio. My name's Luke Egerbrotten, your host of the Dirtbags podcast, also owner of Phaser Marketing. A lot of you guys listening, we work with you guys on the digital marketing side of things. We do digital marketing for 6, 7, and 8-figure excavation companies. Who we're repping today, we got Eisenbath Landscapes on the sweatshirt. Shout out to Hunter. And then also got the GDE hat on. So that would be Great Divide Earthworks, Dave Newby out of Wyoming there. So go give them a follow on Instagram. They're great friends of mine. They've been longtime clients, well over a year now. And they sent me a care package. So I got to wear their stuff, and definitely love working with those guys. We've got a great episode for you guys today. Before we fully dive in, I want to give you guys a couple updates, especially as we're rolling into summer here. We got an exciting new sponsor, and as you guys have started to see on social media, Elgin Corporation has joined the Dirtbags partnership crew. We are so excited to welcome them on. We're expecting to do more with them, with Elgin, with Sledgehammer, with Charlie, and just give you guys more access to their skill sets and also their products. So if you guys don't know much about Elgin yet, when it comes to on-site wastewater solutions, Elgin sets the standard. They have over 50 years of innovation with their geotextile sand filter, which is their GSF system, which offers a cost-effective, reliable alternative to traditional septic leach fields. So, for our septic guys and gals listening, Elgin, you likely know who they are, and we're excited to partner up with them. So, if you want to learn more, you can check out their website at elgin.com. That's ELJEN.com. And we just can't thank them enough. They're very, very forward thinking, and they're excited to kind of infiltrate themselves in with our podcast and do a lot with us, with you guys, and really just work to push the industry forward. So shout out to Elgin. And then, of course, as you guys know, Charlie Huff is our construction insurance legend. He's the man. A lot of you guys are already working with him and have listened to him on the podcast. So feel free to shoot him a text or give him a call. That's 385-268-9939. That's Charlie Huff. He's our guy. And of course, you can find him at his website, sigutah.com. So with that, I couldn't be more excited to welcome in our new guest. He's actually near the hometown where Luke Payne and I grew up. And so there's going to be a lot of familiar conversation here. He's been a great friend of mine, but also just a trailblazer in business and, in my opinion, in his personal life. And we're going to touch on that quite a bit in the podcast here, but what can we do in our personal lives that can also affect us in our business as well? So with that, I got to welcome in the president of Crush Mode, Micah Tysver. Welcome to the Dirtbags podcast. How are we doing, man?
Man, I'm happy to be here. Luke, thanks for the invite. I'm really looking forward to this visit here. And yeah, you're absolutely right. We've been talking kind of back and forth on social media for the better part of a year, and finally get to sit down virtually face to face. But we can get more into that here as well. But I am pumped to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And for those listening, Micah, I would say it's mostly on LinkedIn that I've been listening to his stuff. He's got incredible content, some Monday motivation. So go give him a follow on LinkedIn, and that'll also show some other people's content on there. So if you don't have a LinkedIn, set one up, go follow myself and then Micah, and you'll be blown away by his content. So it's Micah Tysver, and you'll love it. So Micah, it's funny, we were just talking about this, but you were just at World of Asphalt out in St. Louis, and I was out there too doing a presentation, but we just missed each other. Like, I had no idea you were out there, and you also had like this giant cutout of yourself too. So tell me more about the show. What were you up to there? And then how did everything go for you?
So NSSGA does a fantastic job with this show, with putting Ag One partnered with World of Asphalt. I'm an aggregate guy, not an asphalt guy necessarily, so I go out there for the aggregate side of the show. A lot of it goes hand in hand, but it's a great show. And had I known that Luke would have been out there, we maybe could have been doing this live. At least would have got
Yeah.
together for lunch or dinner or beer or something. But no, it's a great show. It's an intimate show. It's on the aggregate side. At a much smaller capacity than like a con expo, where it's just there's so much to see, so far to walk. You miss so much of it. You don't get to spend enough quality time with the people you want to spend quality time with. Where I love this NSSGA show that's once a year, every year, except the Con Expo show. But I represent IROC, which is a fantastic, reputable company out of Cleveland, Ohio, that manufactures and represents crushers, screens, conveyors, and they had a showcase set up at the show, had a booth set up. I was out at their facility with a customer here a couple months ago, giving a tour, looking at some equipment, and they wanted to take some photos, photos of me, photos of a couple people, and I didn't really know what they were doing with it. I thought they're going to put together a video or something for the show, and I showed up to the booth, and there's this 12, 15 foot high photo of me up there with the kind of welcoming dealers. And it was kind of cool. I had a little fun with it. I had a lot of other people had a lot of fun with it. I got a lot of text messages and
Yeah.
kind of poking fun, but we had a good time with it. But it was a surprise to me as much as it was for everybody else. And but it was a great show. I had a good meeting, or a couple good meetings with the IROC folks. Had a lot of good people come through the booth. But yeah, I know it's a 2.5 day show, whatever. I spent 2 full days there, Monday or Tuesday,
Mhm.
Wednesday. I had to get back Thursday, so I missed the half day Thursday. But I feel like besides running into you, Luke, I feel like I got to see and do pretty much everything on my list.
Yeah. Yeah, I would totally agree. I did something very similar. I flew in late Monday night, spoke really early Tuesday morning, and then flew out Wednesday night. And so I had the full day Tuesday and the full day Wednesday basically. And it's very well set up. It's very well structured. And I think maybe that's a big misconception that people have on the outside is they think World of Asphalt, they just think the asphalt side of things, but usually World of Asphalt and or ConExpo are paired up with the ag side of things. So are there any other shows besides like the because ConAg it would be the other one, right?
Correct. As far as national aggregate shows, not really. Those are really the main shows now. You got your local ones,
Yeah.
local trade show associations and stuff like that. But on a national scale, it's really Ag One and Con Expo that everybody has their radar.
Gotcha. Yeah. And then, yeah, and it's just, I always tell people, it's always so great to go to those because you get to see so many familiar faces. You start to get to build friendships, business relationships, but it's just a good time. And also to stay sharp. There's a lot of new technology out there. There's a lot of new innovations and just kind of learning what's out there. Not necessarily implementing everything, but just learning what's out there, what other people are doing and using. And so I really enjoy going to those shows, but there is there's no shortage of things to look at because those are massive. The between Con Expo and then World of Asphalt, and there's a lot of other great shows as well. But so definitely bummed I didn't get to run into you there, but excited to see that you had that 15-foot tall statue there in the booth. Oh, I love
Yeah,
it.
and one thing you mentioned, I should have put a plug in on that too, is the education side of the show that I don't take as much advantage of the opportunity as I could, definitely as I should. But there is just a significant educational offering from beginner classes to advanced classes, from aggregate processing to leadership type topics, and so it's an awesome opportunity for anybody looking to get a little training, get a little education in and around the industry and dealing with people. So I would definitely look into that here.
Yeah, I mean, because that's what I do. Part of my job is to go educate at these shows. And so you're right, those educational sessions, filling out those rooms. And yeah, I try and make it fun and informative. A lot of my sessions are obviously built around digital marketing or operations. And so actually, at this last one I did at World of Asphalt, it was a 90-minute session, so a little bit longer than I normally do. So I thought, like, how could I break it up and change gears? And so we did like an audit of you'd audit your own online presence. And so I had a handout and they would audit their own online presence. And then also, too, and I'll throw this out there so more people will come to my sessions. I did give away cash for my first time, and that was kind of fun.
No kidding.
Yeah, I did a $100 bill. So I talked about it at the beginning. I put a screen up. I said, "All right, I've got $100 bill. If you guys pay attention, because at the end of the session, I'm going to ask you a specific question. Whoever gets it right first gets $100." And I told them, I'm like, this is probably one of the only educational sessions where you could walk out with more money than you walked in. So pay attention. And it was a great time. And so trying to mix it up, do different things, I can't sit still. I don't love the classroom style. So just moving about the room, learning from people in the room, but also knowing that I'm there to teach something as well.
Your session's going to be sold out next year for sure.
Yeah,
If
right.
people find that
Well,
out, Luke's giving away money. We're all in.
yeah. So Con Expo, and obviously I don't know if my presentation has been accepted yet, but I definitely applied for it. That was my first real big speaking gig in 2023 was at Con Expo. So the goal is to be back. The goal is to be speaking again. And if, of course, if we get it, I'll let, everyone know that is listening to the podcast to come on out because it's just a great time getting everyone together and have something in common with other people in the room.
Oh, heck yeah. Love it. Awesome.
Good stuff. So, Micah, you are in Dilworth, Minnesota right now, which is about 40 minutes probably from where Luke Payne and I grew up. And You are a rebel, the DGF rebels. And what I I was as I was bouncing around trying to figure out where I wanted to start this. I want to start with crush mode because that is most relevant. I believe you started in 2023, and then once we hear that a little bit more about what you do on the day to day, then we'll kind of back up and to go more into your history before that.
Well, yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm in Dilworth, Minnesota here, which is basically Fargo Moorhead. I'm right on the Minnesota North Dakota line. Fargo is on the North Dakota side of the river, Moorhead and Minnesota side of the river, and Dilworth is connected to Moorhead. So we're all kind of one community here, if you will. But it's a great area. Dilworth is a small town feel. I'm a small town guy. I grew up in Lakes Country, Minnesota, so it's good to kind of staying in my roots there in the small town atmosphere. So we love it here. My wife and three kids and I all involved very heavily in the small town school district here. But to answer your question, Luke, so I started Crush Mode, went on my own here. This late summer, fall will be 2 years,
Hmm.
roughly September 1st, 2023, when I went live with Crush Mode. Formally, I guess went live with it. I really didn't get into business until the start of 2024, where I kind of went full steam ahead on the bringing in equipment, going out to promote the equipment, etc. But what Crush Mode is we are an aggregate equipment dealership, but I like to think of it better as really a full service aggregate solutions provider. So it's equipment, it's consulting, it's parts, it's service, and it's really supporting the industry. And along with the consulting side, I kind of get into some of the educational stuff as well. So we kind of have kind of a wide range in our portfolio here of offerings. And it's an exciting industry. I've been in the industry over 20 years now and in different capacities, but Crush Mode is a young new company. We're excited to move things forward here. It takes a while. Anybody who started a business from the ground up, if you're anything like I am, you know it's gonna be challenging, but you have no idea how challenging it's really gonna be. It takes a daily grind. It takes a lot of seed planting and if you continue planting seeds and watering it, and they're eventually going to sprout. And I feel like that's where we're starting to kind of turn the corner here now, and those seeds are starting to sprout, which is really exciting.
Yeah, there's nothing like momentum, and it's so hard to build up to get some of that momentum, or as we were talking about earlier, traction. And I think that goes in well what we'll talk about later of EOS, but truly is as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, there's a long time there where there's no traction and there's no momentum, and you're like, you start to second guess yourself. But like you said, you're planting seeds, and I think what really helps is if you've either been in the industry long enough or you know what you're doing can work. Part of the planting the seeds is patience and watering them and just taking care of it and making sure that you have the right people in your corner, you're doing the right things. So when it comes to crush mode, are there partners in the business? How did that come to start? If you want to touch on that a little bit here as well.
Yeah, so without getting into too much detail, I do have two investment business partners, just some all-star dudes that have really believed in me, believed in my vision, believed in my dream. They've been very successful in other industries, from tech companies to real estate to storage, farming. I mean, you name it, they're involved in a lot of different things. Um, awesome guys. This it's a tough industry to get into. I think business in general is tough to start without having some deep pockets and having some capital or having access to capital to do it, because especially with this industry, with we all know that equipment's not cheap. It's comes with some hefty price tags. In order to get into it, you gotta have access to some capital to support it, to back it. And these guys are awesome partners. Like you talk the EOS side of things, they've got me into that as well, which they run with their other companies. But they're hands off in the business. We have a kind of a standing once a week meeting with some of their team, not necessarily the investors themselves, but some of their team that sits in, and just hold each other accountable. They really are
Hmm.
holding me accountable, getting updates on different things. But then we meet quarterly, which is always a blast. That's giving updates, getting feedback. They're super supportive and helpful. Always asking, where do we need to put our focus on? How can we help you do better? How can we help Crush Mode succeed? So I'm super excited and very blessed and fortunate to have these guys on my team because I wouldn't want to be on the other side of on the line of scrimmage from these
Yeah.
guys because I mean they are just top-notch dudes.
Yeah. I love that. And And as you're talking to, and as our listeners are listening, I want to make sure I touch on this because I think this is fascinating. Um, Crush mode is the name of your business, but it's also a mindset, and you talk about that. So let's park on there for a little bit. I guess what does crush mode mean to you? Why is it the name of your business? But also, how are you integrating it in to your daily life and your daily operations?
I'm glad you asked that. And I don't probably touch on it often enough, but
Yeah.
really kind of the history on it. With crush mode, I'm a rock crushing guy. I've been crushing rocks in this industry for 20 plus years, and so the crush part of the name makes sense with the industry and what I'm doing. But on the other side of it, I'll take a step further, like you mentioned or alluded to there, Luke, that it's I have really incorporated it more into a lifestyle. It's a mindset. It's really when you whatever no matter what you do, anything you're worth doing is worth doing right. And in order to do it right, you really have to go all out when you're whether it's in the gym, whether it's in the education side of things for my kids who are on a basketball or volleyball court. Don't just go through the motions. Get out there, and really crush it. But with that, you got to get in crush mode.
Let's go.
You're out there to make a difference. You got to improve every single day. You want to get 1% better every single day without being intentional about it, which is the crush mode side of it. To set that intentional mindset, you're not going to improve. So it's no matter what you do, don't go through the motions. Don't dip your toes in the water, get in crush mode, go all out, and that's really kind of where the name came from and how I try to live my life here.
Man, that is incredible. I love it. I love I didn't even realize that until I was doing some deeper research into it because Crush Mode is just maybe just another business name. And the more I dove into it, I was like, man, this is fascinating. And I gotta hear the passion from you because it's so much more than a business name. It's a lifestyle. It's what you bring every day and just bringing that energy. And I always say that too. That there's a lot of things we can't control in this life and every day, but the one thing you can control is your attitude and what you're given every single day, and how you perceive how things happen to you, or what you do in those situations. And I think that embodies that attitude that you want to bring every day. And I guess yeah, obviously you and I have bad days, but what type of things do you do that help shape up that attitude? If you know, if you can feel yourself starting to slip or starting to, fall off the wagon, how do you kind of get back into that mentality of taking the reins and getting back into crush mode?
It's a great question, and it's things I've been thinking about a lot here because in the first year of business, there are a lot of bad days, and probably in the
Yeah,
first several years, there are a lot of bad days. But even on my bad days, I have to remind myself, and there's a lot of them. I have to remind myself that this position that I am in is a position that I have wanted so badly for so long.
yeah,
It's if it was easy, everybody would do it, without some challenges, without some struggles, without all these tests I'm being put through, there's going to be no growth. And I realize that. So you're absolutely right. I have to adjust my mindset around that to just accept that it's part of the plan. It's part of the process. There's going to be these challenges. Um, I think a lot of that is as you keep dealing with these same challenge, not the same, different challenges reoccurring, right? Day in and day out, you almost start to get used to it,
yeah,
where it's not as difficult to deal with it to get through the day as maybe it was in the first several months. But really, and you mentioned this, Luke, it comes down to your mindset. Control what we can control. and that's one thing that we all have control over. It's what I preach to my kids all the time. It's attitude, effort, sportsmanship, and not just on a football field, but in business as well. I need to learn to control this. A lot of these things that I'm preaching to my kids and I'm putting on my Monday motivation on LinkedIn is their messages I'm preaching to myself. I'm just putting it out there for everybody else to hear it as well. But it's a mindset shift and it's attitude 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, I always think of it too, because if we have control over that, which we do, that is sometimes one of the needle movers we need because everything else can fall into place or everything else can fall apart. But sometimes that is one of the needle movers you need, especially in business, to get you over the hump or to get things moving forward or to gain that traction. So, if that's the case, then I'm going to try and attack that every single day just so we have a chance at making this. And yeah, and especially in a business like yours where it is a lot more capital intense and like everyone listening, the septic, the excavation in the hardscaping world, I mean, it is just equipment is very expensive. Like these startup cash that you need, the loans that you may need, it's not for the faint of heart, and it's not one to just kind of lollygag into. I mean, and especially in your business.
Yep, yep. A couple other things I want to just make note of too, and there's some other things I do to get me through some hard days as well. It's more than just mindset as well, but I'm a man of faith. I lean on my faith
Yeah.
to get me through the days, and which is extremely important for anybody out there that's has those challenges. But the other thing is, I love physical fitness. I love working out, and I feel like that's another just kind of thing I do to keep my own sanity. I could take my frustrations out in the gym or on my Peloton bike or whatever, go out for a run, go out for a walk, just clear my head. So there's little things, some days it's like, man, I just don't want to do this, but you make yourself do it. On the real hard days, like, okay, well, what else can I do? Maybe some days I literally just go for a drive, put my phone down, shut the phone off, listen to some good classic country music, and that kind of helps me just kind of relax a little bit too. But it's the wonderful thing about this thing called life is, there's no 2 days the same, and you just got to
Yeah.
find what works for you to get through it. But I would encourage you to kind of lean on those things that I've leaned on that have helped me tremendously.
Yeah, and that goes to your priorities and making sure that your priorities are in the correct order. Everyone's priorities probably look a little different from the other, and so you mentioned your faith. I can imagine that that is probably number one in your life. But if you want to touch on that of how your priorities are set currently, but also if they've ever kind of gotten out of the order and what you've done.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy for me to sit here and say, that they never get out of order, that,
Yeah.
it's rock solid, but, I'm human. They do get out of order. You lose focus, you lose track of what's important, you lose sight of some of your priorities. But, I try to keep those things at the forefront of my foundation, which is faith, family is extremely important. Faith, family, fitness, finance, all the F's that I talk about, right? So it's try to keep them in that order. Which if you can keep your priorities and your focus in that order, faith, family, fitness, finance, your life is going to be so much easier.
When you say finance, I'm super curious on that because my wife Olivia and I, we actually do talk about our finances a lot, and it is something that can be a slippery slope when it comes to is money an idol or is it something that can be a helpful resource that we're managing? And so I'm curious to hear your thoughts on finance since you added it in there and kind of your stance on it and how you see it.
For me, it's really everything around it. It's the
Yeah.
job, it's the business, it's trying to generate some revenue. But there's more to it, making sure that there's investments for retirement, for kids' college savings funds, for those sort of things. But I firmly believe that if you keep your order correct, faith, family, fitness, finance, if you keep your foundation set with those things, faith, family, fitness, and I'm a firm believer in fitness. Some people will laugh at that, scratch it off. I don't need that. But if you take care of yourself, which you need to keep your energy levels up, keep yourself healthy. And it's not fitness isn't just physical health; it's mental
Mhm.
health as well. You keep those things up, and keep a focus on it, and you work hard at your career. The finance piece, as long as you don't have a gambling problem or something else where it's going out faster than it's coming in, I believe it'll just kind of take care of itself.
Yeah. And I think, all of that would be grouped into the finance category, if you will, of, setting goals, but also, yeah, is there, and I didn't want to jump to this early, but I know one of the books you love is Atomic Habits. And so many of the pieces we're talking about are talked about in the book. And it's not only the positive habits that we're implementing into our day to day, as small or as big as they are, but it's also some of the negative habits. And when you say gambling or you say the one beer a night kind of thing, like this, some of these little negative habits over time can compound into something much bigger and much worse. And it's hard to see the results, positive or negative, in the short span. But then when you zoom out, it can really have a positive or negative effect on your life.
You're absolutely right. And that Atomic Habits, it's one of my favorite books. And I mean, we can talk about it now or later, but I incorporate that into most areas of my life. And you mentioned that good or bad. You see yourself um, on the couch and the families, all on their own phone and everyone's scrolling social media. You're not visiting, you're at dinner, you're at lunch and with the family and everybody's on their phone. I mean, those are atomic habits. When you do it long enough, those habits start defining who you are. So good or bad, just be aware of it, be cognizant of what you're doing, what you're thinking, what you're saying, what you're doing, because those are going to really define you and determine your legacy.
Yeah, absolutely agree. It's such a great book, and I think we've talked about it on the show before. I'm pretty sure I've at least mentioned it, but Atomic Habits, it's by James Clear. So if you guys are listening, haven't picked it up yet or haven't listened to it, definitely grab it. It's a pretty easy read, actually. It all makes sense, but there's little things you can adjust in your life, and all of a sudden you start to see this gradual, I almost said massive, but this gradual change. And then over time, of course, can make for a much better life and happiness and joy in your life. And so we'll definitely touch on, and maybe we'll use that as a plug. He's got two more. Micah's got two more book recommendations. We'll save them for the end, since I just ruined the first one. But
No, no, I'm glad you did, but you're no, you're spot on. And we're really the gist of it is, just making small, consistent, and consistency is the key word. Making
yep.
small, consistent changes to your habits will, in the end, lead to significant results. And it's such a powerful book. It's an awesome book.
Absolutely. So, one thing that I admire about you and how you go about your business, personal and business, but is the way you have your goals set and the way you set your goals. So, if we can hear, I'd love to hear more about your process, maybe any of the categories you set for goals, personal and business, but also, I believe you check in on them quarterly. I just saw your Monday motivation video. You were talking about, how, and I think being honest with yourself as we go through this, you're likely not going to hit every single goal all the time. So you mentioned that in your video of, there's some things that you didn't love about the last quarter. And so how do we tweak and adjust that for our goals this upcoming quarter? But yeah, if you don't mind, and I can even chime in on, what Olivia and I do for our goals, but what is your process like when you set goals for the year, for the quarter, for the 5 year picture? Like if you want to touch on that, that'd be great.
Yeah, so let me start with the personal side here, and well, I'll back up just a minute. Without having clearly defined goals, you don't have anything tangible to measure, and without having something tangible to measure, we have nothing available to us to manage, good or bad. So, so if you're not setting clearly defined goals, you have no way of knowing whether you're improving or you're regressing in life, both personally and professionally. The way I do it, so my wife and I, we will, we'll talk early in the year. I mean, not we talk more than just once a year, but
Yeah.
we get we'll get together and kind of, sit down and kind of try to figure out what's important, right? And we're not always on the same page. We're coming together. We've been married now 20 years this year, but as we're not always on the same page for our priorities, which I won't get off the beaten path here too much. But it's awesome. The longer you spend with each other, the more you get to know each other, the
hmm
closer those goals start aligning, right? So we talk about what is important. Obviously, the finance part of it, which is huge for marriage, is good or bad. I think you need to set expectations and
Yep.
set goals you can manage. But there's other things. It's, we want to, have more meals together with the family, which is hard to do this day and age. And we're so busy. The kids are in travel sports all the time. My wife's a coach. She's running ragged all the time as well, all over the place. It's hard to find time to sit down and be consistent with having meals together and just talk to each other, learn, get to know what each other's up to in their own personal lives. But that's important to us. That we're more intentional about doing that, sitting down and having those discussions, as well as little things. It's, should we go on vacation? Where should we? What should we do? Should we,
Hmm.
do something in the sun? She always wants to go in the sun. That's one thing she's not yet aligning. I mean, I want to go to the mountains and go snowboarding, right?
Right.
But
She's had enough
but
snow up in
she,
Dilworth.
yeah, yeah. But but we know what each other's preferences and priorities really are, and we work through that all the time. But then it's also it's we'll get together and we kind of try to go through similar diets, if you will, because as we get older, metabolism start to slow down, and we got to be
Yeah.
more cognizant of what we're putting into our bodies. Like, it's not we're not in college anymore, and can have those 3 a.m. pizzas and pitchers of beer and wake up and everything's good, right? It's just things change. But
Yeah.
so we talk about that. We kind of go through some things together at the same time, which makes it a ton easier when we're on the same page and in sync. But then I'll write out. New Year's resolutions, and it doesn't have to be something that takes all year. Resolutions can be, just start atomic habits and start working towards something. And but you gotta kind of have some benchmarks on whether to know whether you achieved it or you failed, right? It's being consistent with the physical, or with the fitness side of it, physically and mentally. But then on the business side of things, we've alluded to it a couple times. We're going through this EOS process that we do I'm doing with my business partners. We sit down at the beginning of the year. We talk about what do we want the business to look like? What are our goals for this year? What are our goals for the next 3 years? What are our goals for the next 10 years? Put this big lofty hairy goals out there for 10 years down the road. Um, but then we break it down into bite-sized chunks. We start
Yep.
talking quarterly, which is what you got to do, which I'm starting to incorporate more of that now into my personal side of my life as well. You have to break it down into bite-sized chunks. And so we'll write out clear goals on what do we want to achieve this quarter. We're getting to get together here next week or the week after, and write out our goals, define them for Q2 2025, and hold each other accountable, making sure that we have clearly defined action plans, what we're going to do to reach that part of our goal. We have to-dos, we have issues we talk through, good or bad, but we create clearly defined action plans. And the goal is we want to achieve 80% or more of our quarterly goals, which, that starts creating those atomic habits, which if every quarter you're achieving 80% or more of your goals, you get in a mindset to make sure you're staying on top of things. Imagine where this business could be in 3 years, 5 years.
Yeah.
It is this, and that's part of that EOS process, that the traction process, which is awesome.
Man, I love it. So, and just for clarification for everyone, so Traction is a book written by Gino Wickman, and it's based off of what's called EOS, which is the Entrepreneurial Operating System. Talked about it a couple times on here. Phaser, we are actually just now implementing it. I've read the book twice now, but tried to self-implement. But now we have our leadership team implementing it, or responsible for implementing it, and then I will then give my 2 cents in every meeting and make sure that we build it together. But making sure that you have somebody that is responsible for this is on my task list. And it's really just a way to run a company and for it to be systemized. And I believe it's the most widely used operating system out there. So that's kind of another great thing is, Mike, as you guys are have been using EOS, you talk to a lot of other business owners and they likely use EOS and they have similar meeting structures and they have similar rocks. They'd call them the 90-day goals. And it's just a way to run your business. And one thing I wanted to go back to a little bit is you talked about the issues, and that is a big part of business. We'll start there in life, and especially EOS and all of this. But what I love about the issues that you mentioned is you said good or bad. And I've been looking at this quite extensively over the last week or two because we made a couple new hires. They're actually both up in Minnesota and great individuals on our team. And what I've been leading with is we are problem solvers. And so don't be surprised when an issue or a problem comes up in a day. And don't be like thrown off your track or don't be emotionally invested. It's like, this is what we will do every single day is we solve problems. So take that with a certain mindset, take, crush mode, take that with this is what we get to do is solve problems instead of because you see it sometimes too with certain people and none of our employees have really experienced this but if an issue comes in or somebody's not happy all of a sudden their clear thinking is derailed and they start to panic so just kind of going into that mindset like you mentioned there of issues good and bad they will always be there and our job as business owners especially but also as our team members grow is to be solving these problems. So I think that's such a big piece, especially in EOS, but that I wanted to dive into a little bit there, where it's important that everyone knows that's life. And we also just need to keep pushing forward and be better from it and continue to solve these problems.
One thing that I'd like to mention there is when we first started this process here, a year ago, or maybe a little more than a year ago, basically right when the business started, I'm the only one of my owner and investor group here that's involved in the business. The other,
Mm-hmm.
like I mentioned, the other guys are not. And it was maybe a little bit of a pride thing for me, where if there's an issue, I struggle a little bit to bring it up, put it on the issues list, because I don't want to, alarm them, if you will,
Sure.
or make them concerned. But I came to the conclusion and started to realize that, man, I need to put all this on. I mean, these guys, they're investing in me. They've been through business before, business startups, business ventures. They know there's issues. If I keep coming week after week and say, not no issues, no issues,
Everything's perfect.
that's not reality. And it's I had to have some humility, swallow my pride a little bit, and say we do have some issues here, guys. I'm concerned about this area, that area, and it actually made things fun, and it really brought us closer together because if there's an issue that I may not know how I'm going to solve it, chances are they've seen it before, they've dealt with it before, or something similar, and they have some great advice, and they're very supportive. Like, hey, we get it, We if we got to tap into some more financial resource or whatever, we're here, we got you. Um, so that part has been fun. It's like, okay, we are on the same page. Let's work through this together because that's why they invested into this, because they want to approach us as a team. They want to see this thing successful, and I need to rely on them more for
Yeah.
their experience and their talents that they have, and they have a vast that they have a lot of that.
Yeah. So much of the importance I've learned of building a business, any size business, is getting it from out of the owner's head and onto either paper or a system or a process. And just so it's not all reliant on one person make doing all of that and really systemizing it into a business instead of somebody's job that they had just started for themselves.
Correct. Correct. Yeah.
Man, I love it. And then when it comes to the goal setting, yeah, I'm sure the business goals, of course, have their own separate from your personal goals. When it comes to the personal goals, do you have different categories that you set in there, or is it like physical? I guess for ours that we do physical, financial, career goal, which would be a business goal, and then we added in educational goal. That's been a fun one, and then we started doing this last year with bucket list. So you have to pluck one thing from your bucket list every year and do it just so you start living those things. But I'm curious
Uh,
if you've toyed around with any different categories or have seen some that you really like the physical or career driven goals or anything like that.
I love that, Luke, that bucket list item you put on there. I hadn't thought of that, but that's
Oh,
so
you
cool.
should do it.
I need to make a note on that because that's awesome. That's
And
something I got to think about.
and one other thing on that, because this is super important, is because Olivia and I have been goal setting now together for years, probably 4 or 5 years now, and we love it. And the biggest thing that we've learned from other people that do this successfully with their spouse is you're not only like when it comes to the financial stuff, you're not only digging everything up and being aware of it, but you're also dreaming together. And I think that is a big piece. It's like if we want to do something, we can dream it together, but there's also a process of how to get there. And you don't, we don't just deserve everything right now because we're alive. And so working towards that goal together and dreaming together is so fun and so powerful. And the bucket list category, we added it on for our first time last year, and and it has been incredible because you have the whole year. If it's something where you want to, and I some people think it has to be traveling to the Great Pyramids in Egypt. It might be that, and that's great, but it could also be one day this year, I want to do a marathon of all the Toy Story movies with my grandkids. Like it could be anything. And it, the great part is you have 12 months. So you have the time to plan it. If you need money, you have the time to budget for that. But just really dreaming with whoever that might be. It might be a business partner, might be a spouse, might be your family, and setting goals together. But definitely recommend the bucket list. And then the educational one has been fun too because it's kind of random seemingly, where it's like, what do I want to learn this year that I don't already know? And so a couple of my options this year were get my CDL. Like I don't need my CDL, but I think it'd be great to learn more about that, get my private pilot license. And with that one, that's the one I chose, but also setting a contingency factor in there of the business revenue has to be doing X amount, and then I can go do this educational goal. And I think that's also important of setting some realistic boundaries of we can't just be blowing money on things when the business is going downhill or certain things like that. So those are just a couple things we've done and that we've really enjoyed doing together.
That's awesome. Those are great things. They're great to hear that, Luke. And I do not quite to that extent, but the education piece is huge for me as well. I've always been a firm believer in education. I've taken quite a bit of advanced education. I'm wearing a lot of hats right now, which anybody does when they start a new business, and you quickly realize I guess what you're missing from your portfolio in your business, which is really falls back on me, whether it's sales, whether it's marketing, whether it's leadership. So I have looking into some marketing courses actually to take right now is on my goal this year. I actually just got done taking a master's course on a sales mastery course here in Q1. So there is definitely an education piece that I keep at the forefront of my goals as well. I'm going to put it on, that's both personal and professional, right? Because it helps you in all areas of life. You can go through these things and you can learn how to sell, you can learn how to close. I mean, it helps you with relationships in general, it helps you with your career, helps you with your family. Um, if you want your kids to do something they maybe don't want to do, you can find a different spin on it, and make it seem like, they're taking ownership in it and get them to buy in on it. That's part of a sales
Yeah,
course. I mean, so you can really incorporate it into a lot of areas of your life, and there's so many things that I never knew I didn't know until it seems like the deeper you dive into this, the more you realize how much more there is to learn.
absolutely. It's like I'm kicking myself. I can't remember the author. The book Never Split the Difference, and
Yeah.
it's a book on negotiation. And he was like a hostage negotiator who wrote the book, and it's so great because he addresses how many scenarios a day you negotiate, and it's like over 100 or something like that. And it's negotiating with your kids, it's negotiating with yourself on what to order for food, it's negotiating. And so that was a really great book. I don't know if you can look it up there, but we,
I was drawing a blank on his name,
Chris
Chris
Voss.
Voss.
Oh,
But that's the course I took here, and it was so cool to go through that. Just hear his tips and education and the sessions I went through were just so powerful. He just really got a great way of teaching it as well.
oh
Easy to
yeah.
learn.
Yeah, love that. So Chris Voss, Never Split the Difference, another great one. So Mike, I'd love to. So we talked a lot about crush mode. We talked a lot about where we're at today. I'd love to back it up even further. You mentioned you had 20 years in the industry. Can you give myself and our listeners kind of a picture of what you had been up to, what you'd been doing, even like how you've transformed over the years? Give us kind of that picture there before crush mode, which was 2023, 2024.
I'm gonna go back to growing up. I grew up on a farm on a lake outside of Battle Lake, Minnesota. Big family, six siblings. We were busy. We had animals, had crops, had big garden. We always had things we had to do all the time, and from early morning to after school, after sports, all weekend. It just seems like we were just when you're on a farm, there's things to be done. But at the time, I didn't show the level of appreciation to my folks I maybe should have. But I thank them dearly for it now, for instilling that work ethic in me. Um, after school, I went on to play football at Minnesota State Moorhead. It was actually Moorhead State at the time. When I was in school, they transitioned the name from Moorhead State to MSUM. So I was a Dragon, played football there. Didn't really know what I wanted to go to school for. Changed my major, I think, a couple times my freshman year, maybe sophomore year. I think sophomore year is I just had some football teammates that told me about this pretty cool program in school called construction management. And I had done some residential construction in the past too with a brother-in-law of mine, from framing houses to shingling a ton of roofs. So I kind of had a little bit of a knowledge for what construction is. Um, but didn't realize there were so many different areas of construction until I went into this course. It was really geared towards commercial construction.
Mhm.
But it was an awesome course that I graduated MSUM from in 2004, and I believe I'm the only one. I was the only one in my class, and maybe even still. I shouldn't say to date. There's a couple that have gotten into the dirt world, but at that time, everybody's got into residential or commercial construction. I took a different
Wow.
route when it went into mining and in the dirt world. Um, so I had a internship with an awesome company called Aggregate Industries the summer before I graduated. Went into the gravel pits, and the only thing I knew about gravel pits prior to that was abandoned gravel pits that we'd go party at in high school, right? Just
Yeah,
go find
I
an
was gonna
abandoned
say.
gravel pit. And
Yeah.
um, so I didn't know that people actually mined this stuff, right? I was like, that's an old something from the old days, right? But no, it's so I got a taste of the aggregate processing, the mining side of it. Um, I did a ton of activities when I interned, from production to QC to sales stuff. Right after I graduated, they offered me a job, or before I graduated, I went to work for them full time after I graduated as an assistant plant manager, helping run one site. Quickly moved into plant manager for that site, and a few years later became operations manager. And then I was also overseeing the trucking department there, so I was taking on more and more responsibility all the time, and which I always challenge myself to do. It's never stop learning, never stop pushing yourself, never get complacent. Um, so I stayed. I was with them for about 13 years, from '04 until or early '04 until late 2016. And then 2016, I decided I'm ready for another change, another challenge, to keep broadening my horizons and challenging myself. And I moved into the dealership space, and went to work for a couple different dealerships, in different roles, from sales management, business development, vice president. And but for so long, I've wanted to do something on my own. I've had this entrepreneurial itch that
Yeah.
I thought, man, Well, the right time will come, and maybe the scratch will go away, right? But the itch never went away. It's like, well, it's not going away. It got to the point where, you know, a friend of mine, maybe mutual friend here, Keaton Turner, he talks about this a little
Yep.
bit in his podcast. Like, don't do it until you can't breathe. That's how bad you want it. There's no other option. You can't breathe until you do it. And then I literally had gotten to that point. Like, man, it's I can't sleep anymore. This is driving me nuts. I got to go do something on my own. Um, Sure, putting some pieces together and went live with it here in 2023. But it's been a wild ride. It's been a challenging ride. I know that was kind of a quick little recap there, but I'm going to back up a little bit as well, along with my time with Aggregate Industries, which was a Lafarge Wholesome company at the time, which has now changed names to Wholesome and changed names again here in the U.S. to I'm drawing a blank. They're splitting off, but awesome company based out of Switzerland, and they had a few years in there where they were handpicking some folks within their organization that they wanted to challenge to some advanced education courses that was put on at the time through the University of Leicester in Northern England, and I was one of two U.S. employees nominated, the only actually American at the time nominated the other employee, and he's a good friend of mine, Steve. He's a Scottish guy, but he was
Yeah.
living and working in the U.S. But there were 14 of us that went through this course for a year from 12 different countries around the world. We got really close with each other. We spent a lot of time overseas in Switzerland and England, and in different quarries in I mean, you name it, France and Italy, and we were all over the place. But it was such an awesome experience, awesome education. We really hit on every single aspect from greenfield feasibility studies through the operations, through sales and financials. I mean, it was a very in-depth study of the aggregate operation as a whole. We came out of there with a degree in aggregate management and quarry operations, which has helped me tremendously. Still to this day, I still
Mhm.
go back and reference some of my books, some of my studies that I'd taken on because I'd learned just an awesome education at the time, and it's really second to none. But that's all these things. What I'm getting at here, Luke. All these different things from learning the what a gravel pit really is to mining to get into the operations to the education part. It's like every little step, every step I take is more exciting than the previous one.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, there's just so much excitement to this industry. There's so much to learn about this industry. Once you get it in your blood, you're not getting it out. Very few people ever get out of it, which is awesome. We just got to do a better job getting more people into it.
Yeah. 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 I think that, man, the it's so fun getting to do this show and getting to most of our guests are business owners, I would say. Not everyone, but and it's just fun to see, we're all a little bit messed up in the head, I think. And but like Keaton mentioned to you, you want it once you like can't breathe and you want to do it that bad, then try it. But it is everyone also talks about how difficult it is to own your own business. But what I think that seemingly they're missing all the time is how great it can be too. I mean, I love being a business owner. Granted, it's different than a lot of people listening to this podcast, but there's so many similarities of just running your own business and the challenges that you face every day from that. And I wanted to throw a different question your way because normally we'd say, what's your favorite part about owning your own business, stuff like that. But uh, I want to flip it backwards on you and ask you, what looking back now, what was your favorite part about having a job? So like being employed by somebody else.
A steady paycheck.
Yeah, right.
I would say that was you can leave it at work. That's
Yeah.
the other piece of it. When you leave for the day, you can go home. You can have the glass of wine with your wife. You can unwind. You can really enjoy the kids' sports events, and that's something that I'm really challenged with at the moment. I think most business owners probably are. I'm up Saturday, Sunday mornings, 5, 6 o'clock. Researching. I'm up late on my computer, responding to emails. it's hard to shut it off when you're an entrepreneur, a solopreneur, a business owner in general, without especially without having a large established team. Um, I would say there's some to some degree I maybe missed that a little bit, right? Where it just seemed like the stress level is so much lighter, the burden's
Yeah.
lighter, the paycheck was heavier. Um, I would say, and there's a lot, I'm not joking, there's a lot of truth to that, right?
Yeah. Oh
But
yeah.
along with that, I would personally, and I'm wired, like the select few of us that are wired differently, that we would never go through life feeling fulfilled unless we gave this a shot. I would rather give this a shot and fail immensely than go through life with the regret of not giving it a shot.
Absolutely. And we have a lot of listeners that might be, let's say, under 35 years old and listening. And it's the younger you are, the better it is usually to take that risk, especially if you don't have kids yet. And when I talk to, some people that have that itch and they really want to do it, but they're nervous and they're 23 years old, I'm like, is your 35-year-old self going to wish that 23-year-old took that chance 12 years ago? And I think just zooming out a little bit and looking at it like that, but also there's risk. There's smart ways to do it and there's risky ways to do it. And every situation is different. And that's why we're very careful on this podcast to not glorify business ownership and then show that there is this huge change in your life. A lot of times negative change and the stress levels. And I think that's why I asked that question, because there's a lot of good stuff about having a job, especially if you don't have that entrepreneurial itch yet. And if it's like kind of there, but it's not quite like just you're dreaming about it and it's overcoming your life, it might not be time yet to start that business. And the steady paycheck, I couldn't agree with that more. The benefits, the being able to log off and just go do whatever and not think about work is pretty cool. So as a business owner, I mean that's like my hobby as well. I love business, but you have to almost be obsessed with your business to get through, especially the first couple of years when it is probably the most difficult.
Yeah, and one thing I would just kind of spin off on that as well is I don't think I would have as good of a chance for this business to be successful as I have right now by putting in the time I put in working for others
For
and
sure.
building relationships, networking, going through the education, going through the school of the hard knocks, learning everything I could for almost 20 years. Because now when I jump into this, I have a lot of relationships that has taken me 20 years to build. I have a lot of knowledge, experience, not to my own horn here, but some expertise in areas that has taken me 20 years to build as well. So if I would have jumped into this 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I would be shocked if it was going to be successful. Now I
Yeah.
have a much better level of comfort that I will make it work, and failing at this point is just not an option. It's
Yeah.
not an option for me. It's not even some people ask me that, well, what if it doesn't? It's like, dude, it's not even in my vocabulary to say what if
Right.
what if it doesn't go, because it's gonna go. I'm gonna find a way. It's
Yeah.
whether if I gotta grind 24 hours a day for 6 months, whatever it takes, it's gonna go.
Yeah. It's crush mode, baby. Let's do
It's
this
crush
thing.
mode. I love it. Yep.
Oh man, what a great. I'm so glad we dove into that there. And it's just a different perspective, right? And it's it's like when people ask the question, should I buy new or used equipment? It's like, well, that's a big answer that we don't know have all the details here. And the same thing with should I start my own business or not? And one thing, and this is probably not as applicable in this industry because of the capital needed, but if I have somebody reach out to me and say, Luke, I want to start my own business, it's XYZ, how should I start? What worked for me might not work for everybody, but what I would usually recommend to them is start it on the side first and don't pay yourself anything. Keep your full time job because one, that'll teach you how to work hard because you now have to work outside of your 40 hours a week job. But two, it teaches that delayed gratification of, okay, so when am I able to pay myself from this business? And that's going to probably be a few years down the road. And so really just teaching yourself that it kind of dips your toe in the water of it, but then you'll start to realize like, okay, to really get this thing moving, I need to go head first and like dive into this. And so I I always use the analogy of, in some businesses that you start, you can pull the boat closer to the dock and then step onto the boat instead of dive headfirst and probably miss it. You can make your
Yep. Yep.
situation in a lot of cases. Like I said, this industry is really tough to dip your toe in the water, but in a lot of situations, you can pull the boat closer before you make the insane risk to make it happen.
Spot on. And that'd be my advice too for the younger listeners that, there's a lot of people that obviously want to go on their own, but they look at the highlight reel side of it as, I'm going to go on my own. It's going to blow up or it's going to be an awesome business here. I'm going to have a yacht in 2 years. That's, it's a good goal. It's a lofty goal, but my advice is, it's a dream. It's not reality. And my
Yeah,
advice is, slow down a bit, absorb everything you can, challenge yourself where you're currently at, learn everything you can, establish relationships, ask your boss or your coworkers, your mentors, whatever, what else you can get involved in that's going to challenge yourself to further educate yourself. That's going to give you more experience in other areas. But I don't be too quick to rush into it. It's
yeah.
without it's putting on a tool belt without having any tools in it and going out to do the job. You want to put as many tools in your tool belt first before you strap it on and decide, okay, it's time.
Absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree with that more. And just um, those experiences that are way more expensive when you're on your own, you can experience all of those working for somebody. So it's that balance you got to find. And at the end of the day, if you do go for it, you got to go full crush mode and you got to be ready to let her rip. So,
You got
Micah,
it, 100%.
as we, I want to transition a little bit and hear the other book recommendations. So before we dive into that, just for everyone listening, if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or whichever platform, if you could take a quick second to rate our show, there should be a button. It'll be like a 5-star rating. That has helped a ton get our podcast out to new listeners. And so people are seeing us every day now on Spotify. So if you guys jump in there, if we've given any value in any episode, jump in there and give us a 5-star rating. And then massive bonus points if you're on Apple Podcasts and you want to help us out big time. There's actually a spot when you leave the 5-star review, you can type a review. I think we have like a handful, like 7 or 10 or something. But if you guys jump in there, take a couple seconds before we wrap up the episode here, that would help a ton. And I do get to see those reviews, so it does mean a lot. But Micah, and before we dive into this, I just want to thank you again for being on the show. This has been an incredible episode, and I'm excited to hear, since I already spoiled the one book recommendation, Atomic Habits. I know you've got 2 others that you wanted to touch on that you'd recommend for our listeners to jump into.
Yeah, thanks, Luke. And it's been a pleasure being on here before I get into this, so I appreciate that. This has been a blast. But the a couple other books, I've read a lot of books, but there's only a few that really stick with me that I feel like I use some of the life lessons pretty consistently in my life. We already talked about Atomic Habits, because you use that in all areas of your life by forming those atomic habits that lead to significant results. But I kind of picked a couple different ones to talk about different areas of my life, and there's one that was one of my favorite books I ever read. Was all about building a brand, building a business, and it was Shoe Dog. The book Shoe Dog was a memoir by Phil Knight, the founder, the dreamer, and the founder of Nike. He started the business with a different name, Blue Ribbon, something. I can't remember what it was, but it's an awesome book about how he took his dream and turned it into a reality and really built a brand, and the grind and the struggle and the challenges that he went through are just so relatable to anybody starting a business, going out in his old beat up car and selling running shoes out of the back of them, for a very small profit, small margin, getting turned down by potential prospects time after time. We don't want your shoes. You're never going to make it. All these doubters, all these haters. He never gave up on the dream, never gave up on on grinding. And obviously you see what Nike has done globally here. It's I mean, he built this awesome brand, this awesome products, but he never gave up the vision, never gave up the dream. And I think it's just such a powerful book, and it's just so relatable to anyone starting a business. Because you look at some of these big, wildly successful businesses like that, like Facebook or Meta now, Uber. I mean, Tesla, any of them, they started off with one guy or one gal that has a vision, has a dream that's in their basement or their parents' basement that are, just taking it one step at a time. These things don't just become wildly successful overnight. So I love stories like that. I love books like that. I love, the similarities of the early stage battles and the challenges that they went through that are eerily similar to kind of what I'm feeling at the moment here. So it gives me hope, right? It's like, man, I'm not the only one that's gone through this, not the only
Yeah.
one that's struggling with this right now. Just keep your eye on the prize, keep the dream alive, and keep going in crush mode, and things are going to come together. So I would recommend that for anybody that loves reading about business, reading about entrepreneurs. It's a cool dog. It's a good, great story about Nike. Shoe Dog. The other one here that just made a note on is one I read years ago. I had actually a customer when I was with Aggregate Industries. A customer of mine had given me a book. We were talking about faith one night. We were having dinner. We were talking about faith. We were talking about family. We were talking about career, dreams, etc. And he was actually from my hometown, so he was kind of a mentor to me as well. But he had gotten to know Joe Gibbs somehow from some career stuff through NASCAR at the time. And Joe Gibbs had wrote a book called The Game Plan for Life. It is built on a solid faith foundation. It talks about relationships. It talks about finances. It talks about battling and beating addiction. It talks about competing in sports, competing in life, competing for your professionally, whether it's your career, whether it's sports, whatever you're competing in. Really approach it with an intentional mindset to improve with a rock solid faith type foundation. Keep God at the forefront, and everything else it's going to be successful as long as you keep your priorities straight. And a big thing for him is it's your relationship with your spouse. So there's a lot of the book is based on how you treat your spouse, how you expect to be treated, how you treat your kids, co-workers, etc. But it is such an awesome book. I would recommend if anybody feels like maybe they have, it's an area of their life where they're needing a little attention, they're wanting a little boost, they're wanting some advice, without going through counseling or whatever. Pick up that book. I guarantee it's going to change your mindset, it's going to change your ways, and it's going to make you a stronger, better person. Joe Gibbs, he's such a cool, he's a three-time Super Bowl champion, owner of NASCAR team, and he has so many stories around the Super Bowl and the NASCAR races, and it is a fun read as well. He's just got some awesome stories in there.
Oh, I love it. And those are two books we haven't had on the show yet. So for everyone listening, that was Atomic Habits by James Clear, Shoe Dog by Phil Knight, and Game Plan for Life by Joe Gibbs. So definitely pick those up. Let us know what you guys think. And then as we wrap up here too, Micah, what would be the best way for people listening to this episode, listening to the show, if they want to reach out to you and let you know that they listened, if they want to reach out and have any questions, like what's the best way they could come into contact with you?
I love getting messages. I love getting phone calls. I love, whether it's DMs, private messages, emails, phone calls. I love talking about life. I love talking about career. I love talking about faith, whatever. So I would love to hear from anybody out there that has any questions or feedback or whatever. I'm always up for the conversation, but the best way probably keep it simple here is LinkedIn, which is my name, Micah Tysver, Tysver, or you can find me on Crush Mode at LinkedIn, or Instagram is my name again, Micah Tysver on Instagram. The other way is I have a mailbox is really simple. It goes right to my email, which is sales@crush-mode.com. Real simple, sales@crush-mode.com. That comes right to my mailbox. So if anybody wants to send an email to, I check it uh, several times a day. So I'll definitely respond when I have time, and I would love to hear some feedback.
Yeah, what an opportunity too. And thank you for providing that. I know a lot of our guests, they're always so giving, and a lot of our listeners, they'll jump on that and they'll just let them know, hey, I listened to the episode, great work. If they have a question, they'll pop that in there. But it's just so cool that the guests we bring on are willing to, of course, go back and forth like that. And so definitely appreciate that, Micah. And as we wrap up, everyone, Charlie Huff, of course, our construction insurance man, definitely reach out to him. He is awesome. I'm excited to have him on one of these times so we can dive in more insurance side of things. You can just shoot him a text at 385-268-9939. And of course, Elgin Corp, elgin.com. And go give those guys a follow on Instagram, but also go check out their website. And Micah, I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. This is awesome. The time flew by. And I just thank you so much for being a great friend, a great mentor, but also just being on the show and giving so much value to our whole audience.
This has been a blast, Luke. Thank you. It's been a pleasure. This has been fun. Thank you very much. It's been great visiting with you here.
Absolutely. And we'll catch you hopefully at the next show, but hopefully before then
Heck
when
yeah.
we're back up at the lakes this summer. So it'd be great to see you.
Yeah, do that, man. Look me up. Looking forward to it.
Good stuff. All right, everyone. Great to have you on another episode, and we will catch you on the next one.